Actors, we've all got issues, so let's talk about them. I'm Juan Ayala, and welcome to Actors with Issues. Each week, we bring you interviews with actors from across TV, film, and Broadway, taking many deep dives into their careers and getting into the successes, the struggles, and of course, the issues that they face as actors. That's enough about us. Let's dive into the episode. Today's guest is an actor you know from everything. Power Rangers, Black Mirror, Aquaman, Mortal Kombat, the CW's Kung Fu. Please welcome to the stage, Ludi Lin. Ludi, thank you so much for coming and for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
So welcome back to the show, actually, because you did one of our roundtable interviews earlier this year. So thank you for coming back.
Yes, that's right. So thank you for having me again.
Yeah. So before we dive into the show and the issues, given the name of our show, we always start with a quick game. So just pick a number between one, two, and three.
Oh man, I don't remember this game. Okay, one.
There used to be just one game. Now I give options. So number one is called Getting to Know You. So it's some this or that. It's some normal questions just to get to know you a little bit better. We always start with an easy one: coffee or tea?
Uh, Most of the time, tea.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I'm a morning person. I've become a morning person.
Hmm.
I used to be an extreme morning person, like a 3 a.m. morning person.
Oof.
So now I'm like a 6 a.m. normal,
Okay.
average Joe, average cup of Joe morning person.
Do you prefer film or television?
Film. Although I still prefer film. It's like it's like whether you like to go out to eat a gourmet meal or or home cooking, you know?
Mhm.
Most of the time you eat home cooking. I think TV is like the bulk of my media diet at the moment, but still going out to see a film, there's nothing like it.
Mhm.
That's why it's special because it's rare.
Right. Drama or comedy?
Rom drama comedy. Dramedy is the best. A good dramedy is the best.
Yeah.
I think every drama should have some comedy. That's what
Mhm.
makes a great drama, you know?
Yeah.
But why isn't it comedy or tragedy?
Oh, that's a good question. Because
Is a
it's so
drama
interesting. No
tragedy?
one refers to anything as a tragedy anymore. It's like that's like classic literature, and not that's interesting. You bring that up. I didn't even think of that.
Yes,
Huh.
because life is tragedy right now.
Yeah. Right. They're trying to escapism. Not so much
Yeah,
focus on
yeah,
what's happening
yeah,
now.
yeah. I would say, damn, I haven't seen a very good like a guffaw comedy in a long time that makes my gut hurt.
Mhm.
Like that's also doubles as a good ab workout. The last one of those I saw, um, I think Game Night. Do you remember? Did
Oh,
you watch Game
yeah.
Night? That
Great
was
movie.
awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So clever. But
I have to go
yeah,
back and watch Clue every once in a while because that's like my favorite comedy of all time.
really, Clue, the
Yeah.
the original Clue.
Yeah.
Old
Classic.
school Clue. Yeah.
Tim Curry,
But
just such a great cast. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, there's a dramedy. I mean, there's murder in there, but it's still
yeah.
hilarious.
Multiple endings, no?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Do you prefer playing the hero or the villain? You've done both.
I I prefer playing the hero, actually.
Mm.
I've always been, ever since I was a kid, I've always had a very straight and narrow view of good and bad. Like I always loved the good guy. But then my definition of the good guy was different. For example, Tom and Jerry. I always wanted Tom. Tom's the cat, right? Tom
Yeah.
is the cat. Tomcat. Yeah, Tom's the cat. I love cats, so I always wish the cats would win once in a while. I didn't think that, that would turn into the murder of Jerry if that ever happened. But it was just, I say the hero, but I like the underdog more.
Mhm. What is the last show that you binge watched?
Binged watched. Oh, I just yesterday or the day before yesterday, I watched The English on Amazon.
Oh, well, Emily Blunt. Yeah, I haven't
Oh
watched that
yeah,
yet.
so good.
Yeah, I've got to watch that.
Oh, it's so good. It's like it's like you get goosebumps. Like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It's so good. Oh, I love
Um,
it.
do you do any accents or impressions? And if so, can we hear one?
I do. I mean, I lived with an American accent for a long time. while I was going to school, and depending on where I'm working, so it's slipped out a little bit. So like sometimes I just talk like this as an American when I'm down there with you guys, and I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know what you think about it. You
It's
might think
good.
like you guys are total schmuck. But yeah, that's a good one. I mean, it comes with the territory, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Accent is like acting accents. Um, impressions. I wish I could get into impressions more. I
Mhm.
think that's actually a really good lost art, lost skill. But
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot of biopics these days, so I feel like people have to sort of learn to do more impressions of these like, classic Hollywood figures, like with Elvis and all these other movies coming out. Um, but yeah.
yes, yes. I know a lot of actors, actresses, especially from like the minority culture, like the biopic or biopic, however you say it, depending on what accent you're
Mhm.
going with there. But like for them, for us, a biopic is the dream because it's so few and far in between.
Yeah.
I know a friend, we were just talking about this, Vanessa Yao on Kung Fu. She just did a small did a feature film, an indie film about um a Chinese painter, a
Mhm.
female Chinese painter that was famous around 1920s, 1930s in Shanghai.
Mhm.
And she did a biopic of her in English, filmed in LA. So that's really interesting, really rare. I love hearing things like that, especially when it's done in English language. I know it doesn't, maybe it's not, I'm not sure how the script is, whether it's just like a translation and you use your leap of imagination, um, to get into the times. But
Yeah.
anything like that is really interesting.
What's the next one I have here? Oh,
Oh, are we still doing the game right now? We
yeah.
are.
It's okay.
Okay.
If you could have dinner with any actor, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, wait, I think I've had this one before. Any actor, dead or alive, huh? Um, well, truly, this might be a canned answer, but truly, I think for someone who has passed, I think I would definitely love to sit down with Bruce Lee
Mhm.
because I not that I like to pick his brain or like pick a fight with him. I definitely wouldn't want to do that, but just to see his reaction about the times that we live in, whether he thinks that like we've made any progress, because we get that question all the time, right?
Mhm.
Do you think Hollywood has changed? Do you think the film industry have changed? Do you think the world has changed? So I like to get his impression of that. Then I mean, yeah, alive. I guess anyone too.
Mhm.
I think if you could just sit down and have like I would like to have a conversation, a dinner where you're locked into the room with no phones and no escape, and you're forced to actually sit down and have a meal and open up. I
Mhm.
think if you could do that, have an opportunity to do that with anybody, it would be like it would be a worthwhile dinner, you know? It doesn't matter if you've been working for a long time or you're just starting out or just anybody really.
Yeah.
And I don't know if actors really contribute to the value of the dinner.
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone whoever I pick might be bored to death by me. So maybe I should pick someone who has a better chance of having a good time.
I mean, I love having done the podcast for as long as I have because, when it started, I was just talking with my actor friends who,
Yeah,
had just booked their first co-star, like, two-line role on the show.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they were just
yeah.
talking about that. And then it's like, as
Oh
it
yeah,
progressed, it's talking with folks like you who've done these like franchises in film and television and all of that. So just getting this like range of, I like want to sit and I want to see like a round table with actors who are like just starting and then with like veterans
yeah,
and just see like, see what
yeah,
happens, like,
yeah,
because
yeah.
there's like
I
there's like a fresh perspective and then like all this experience that's coming in.
Yeah, true, true. I could see that. I could see that. I mean, it would be interesting. I wonder though if the difference wouldn't be whether they've been working it for a long time or they're just starting out. Whether it be whether they're still hungry. No pun on the dinner part, food part. But I think sometimes people that have just booked like the first day playing role or one or two liner, they're so excited, because
Mhm.
it's like the potential is almost limitless,
Yeah.
right? They're just starting out, and there's like just like a tree from its trunk. You see unlimited branches coming out of it. Whereas people who have worked for a long time, and if you don't put your mindset in a way where you just want to experiment and go out there and still explore different areas, but the industry also forces you to narrow down your choices because you have to, the only thing you're limited by is the time you have, right? And the choices
Mhm.
you make. So sometimes like that lessens the hunger a little bit. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're set in a way. Like for myself, I'm vegan, so I don't get hungry over meat anymore. I don't salivate over meat, really,
Mhm.
right? Because I set myself on these rules that limits the choices I have, and therefore I'm not as like bloodthirsty. I think maybe speaking with bloodthirsty people would be the most interesting thing because it's so pure, that energy.
And lastly, in 3 words, describe your most memorable audition. And memorable could be good or bad, so that's entirely up to
My memorable. Oh
you. Yeah,
man.
most memorable.
Okay. Uh, um, nervous, painful, um, disappointed.
Can you share what the audition was for, or is it under wraps? There's usually
No,
NDAs involved.
I, this is for Shang-Chi, and I didn't,
Mhm.
because I was on another project at the time, I didn't actually get in the room, and the whole thing was, it was important. I knew it was going to be important, whether for me or for anyone,
Mhm.
right? And so, um, I think the that taught me a big lesson. It taught me that at the end of the day, it taught me that there's value in disappointment, and it was very valuable,
Mhm.
because if you're not disappointed, then you haven't tried.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
You weren't
that
invested enough,
yeah,
you know.
that disappointment is proportional to how much effort that you put into this,
Yeah.
how much meaning there is, right? It tells you that you still care about this thing. If you're not disappointed, then maybe it's time to, try something else, open a cafe or something like that, right? But yeah, so I don't say those words in a negative sense. I think
Mhm.
they're very positive. I think it's like it pushes you forward and it's the drive, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I also think that because you asked what's the most memorable, I think that things that hurt,
Yeah.
I remember much more than things that are wonderful. Of course, there's those great memories as well, but on an even ladder, it sticks with me a bit more.
So going back to sort of like the earlier days of your career, I'm curious, like, when did acting first get on your radar? And then along the way, once you decided you wanted to sort of go into it full time, pursue it as a career, do you recall what was maybe like the hardest time you had? Because I know Lord knows that, throughout an actor's career, there's so many times that they want to quit, or they're just like, maybe this isn't it anymore. But yeah, when did it first get onto your radar? We'll start with that.
I think subconsciously acting has always been on my radar. I think I said this before. I think subconsciously, acting or just like it starts with because everything plays on a spectrum,
Mm.
kind of, right? I think we all start with role playing, whether you like playing with GI Joes, Barbie, playing House, playing Doctor,
Mm.
whatever it is. There's always a role playing element. It's how we discover things, right? It's like animals. It's like I read this fascinating thing about pets. Sometimes cats. Do you have a cat? Have you ever owned
I
a
don't. I've
cat?
had a dog before.
You
Not.
had a dog. Okay. So I don't know if dogs do this. I think they sometimes do because a friend of mine in LA, her dog sometimes does this. They leave bits and pieces of smaller animals at your door. My
Mm.
my
I don't know
friend's
that.
dog. would leave like a squirrel tail or something. Love squirrels, right? Love chasing after squirrels. But cats are especially notorious for this because cats would leave, like a half maimed animal at your door. And evolutionarily, that's how cats teach their young to hunt. They would cripple an animal, a prey, and bring it back to their nest
Mhm.
or their I guess their home or whatever. Is it a nest for cats? I don't know. Kennel? No, that's a dog. I don't know. But yeah, so they would bring a maimed animal to let their young practice
Mhm.
catching them, and that's their form of playing. you
Oh,
know, and you see those National Geographic films of little lions like wrestling back and forth,
yeah.
and that's them playing, like playing fighting, like playing when they need to compete for a mate or go out to hunt, right? So I think in a way, oh, this is interesting. I think in a way, maybe kids play so that they can fill their roles, use their imagination to fill the role of what they would become as an adult, you
Mm.
know?
Hmm.
And then you asked when did that start coming onto my radar? I guess that's childhood. But the most interesting thing is to choose that as a lifelong pursuit. That's almost like a refusal to actually grow up.
That
You're
is,
still
yeah,
you,
that
you,
checks
you're
out.
still you're still playing, even in your, middle age, old age. You still haven't, which is nice because you don't know what the human potential is. You don't know what you could become, right? You're just this bowl of like proteus, um, proteonic energy.
And then along the way, was there any point in time that you were ready to give up or take a break from auditioning or from acting altogether?
No, I don't think so. I always thought, like, I could do other things along with acting.
Mm.
Um, people find ways of surviving, living, um, whether it's being a waiter. I had a job at a gym
Mm.
for a while. And plus, along with acting, I was also pursuing medicine as a
Oh.
career, mainly because of, family pressures, the whole lawyer, doctor, engineer thing that we've, beat almost half to death and we're still beating on right now. But yeah, I never felt like I needed to ever give up. Do you know what I mean? But the biggest revelation I came to is that when I was in university, for theater or like in acting class, even staying in LA, seeing a lot of my friends and my just the social circle around me, um, they they have this mentality that they need to act to live. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I understand that because it's big risk, big reward, right? That old scene that you see with this kind of like this I don't know why the imagery is the starlet, this like pure, untouched, like a epitome of feminine chastity that comes from any town Midwest in America, arrives in LA on a big bus, and then and she comes in, and then some like swindler agent goes up to her and be like, "Hey, you want to be a star?" And the next thing you know, she's with like glasses, big red lips, and all done up. You can hardly recognize her. So people pick up their entire lives to move to a new city,
Right.
and they expect like this is it. They shut off all other options.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing. If it's either do or die, right? Sink or swim once I get here. And sometimes it's like that. LA sometimes is a bit predatory, like it can swallow you whole like that as long as it draws you into that mentality, But at some point in when I was studying acting and learning and working, I realized that it's the opposite. You can't act to live. Um, you live to act. Like acting should benefit your life,
Mhm.
right? Because like because I think the best characters on you see on screen or in a play or whatever, they come across as the most authentic characters, right? And
Mhm.
the characters that you believe in, whether they're maybe they're doing something wrong or someone that you aspire to being. You relate to them because characteristics that they have is something that projects, like, comes across positively in you. And I think to be that kind of, to portray that kind of character, the best thing you could do is actually to live an inspiring
Yeah.
life that someone could aspire to. So that old adage, like acting is being, you're just like being that thing, because it's otherwise it's really exhausting to have to fake that all the time, I would think. And I don't even know if that's possible. So if you want to act a certain way, you actually need to know how to be that type of person. And
Mm.
you asked whether I like being a hero or a villain. I really like being a hero, and like to authentically portray a hero. Like, you never believe villainous heroes, right? Those,
Right.
like in Spider-Man, as soon as you see Jake Gyllenhaal, you're like, oh, that guy's up to no good.
Yeah.
You're always guessing. There's something in you. It's like that hearing thing. There's something that you tuned into, like inauthenticity, I think, is a dead giveaway.
Yeah. I feel like, especially actors watching movies, we're very not paranoid, but we're rather on edge. We are a little cynical when it comes to people's intentions
Yeah.
because we know this
Yeah.
is a slightly shady business. So we're like, is that genuine or were they practicing their acting? You know,
Ah, yeah. What do you remember some movie that you've seen in like lately that you
that
that
I had
triggered,
that feeling with
yeah,
the
that you had
character.
that feeling?
It's usually a horror movie, like a slasher
Oh, okay.
film, like
Yeah.
Scream, the most recent one, the one that came out, I think in January.
Oh, okay.
When I saw that, you know, it's usually like, who's the guy under the mask? Is it the boyfriend? Is it the best friend? Is it someone else? And as soon as the boyfriend appeared on screen, I was like, oh, it's him. It's always the boyfriend in these movies.
Right. Right.
But it's Jack Quaid from The Boys, and he's a great actor and just did such a great job of trying to come off
Oh,
as the
right.
nice guy. And I'm like,
Right.
it's all bullshit though. I don't believe it at
Right. Right.
all.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
that's
play.
interesting. I wonder if they do that on purpose so that it doesn't screw us up too bad. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't make us second guess every person that we see. If they do too good a job, what if, it's like that Game of Thrones effect. You get so attached to a character. Once they kill them, you're like, oh man. Like, that's why I think people had such a big reaction to the Game of Thrones,
Mhm.
because that was the first, I guess, widely seen thing that dared to do, like, screw
Kill
up your
off your
head like
favorites.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, kill off your favorites, and then you don't know what's going to happen. You're completely lost. You're
Yeah.
like, wait, they just violated the rules there. Because, like you said, even when the actor's really doing a great job at, like, portraying someone who in the end is not what you think they are, still there's something in the movie that somehow gives it away.
And having been in this industry for so long, what have you noticed has changed the most about show business, about entertainment?
I think the breadth,
Mhm.
like the reach that it's going out to now. It's like I said, I watched the English, and it was in, I think, at least like three, four languages.
Mhm.
Some French, some American, like British English, different native languages, sign language, all
Mhm.
this stuff. And people, I think it's because of the amount of content that we're presented with. It's forced us to seek novelty.
Mhm.
And novelty is good because it injects some new element into the thing. I think the breadth and the reach, how now you're making a film and or a TV series, it's probably going to be seen, across the world,
Mhm.
and people will have different interpretations of it. It puts us in this, I don't know, like, it forces us to get along because we get immediate feedback. It's not like we're doing an experiment just in our own laboratory anymore, like the
Right.
world's laboratory.
And having been part of, again, like these like big budget films and television, sort of doing like a bit of everything. What have you noticed is maybe a misconception about the industry, something that sort of like the general public thinks about acting or being an actor? or the industry itself that you've sort of debunked over the years?
Well, I think the general public thinks that they um they know what the industry is
Mm,
when nobody knows what the industry is. Like truly nobody knows what the industry is. And I think the general public, that's why people peg like certain people for certain roles and they just can't understand it when that doesn't, it goes against what they think that things should turn out to be.
mm,
I think people are really attached to their version of reality and what the industry is presenting to them. And fair enough, because we're trying to tell them that this is reality, right?
mm,
When we're making films or a TV series, we're trying to tell the person, look, I want you to be drawn into this world. So when they think that it's so close to you, especially like your TV is like a family member sitting in your living room every single day,
mm.
so you think that you should know what it's thinking and where it's coming from, when in fact you really don't. I think, yeah, I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is, I think a lot of people have said this before. People don't understand the amount of work that has been put into any success on screen,
Mm.
because we still see being recognized or doing a great piece of work, or we celebrate celebrity like it's a golden ticket,
Mm.
right? It's that lottery ticket that you win. Like this is the thing that made it. But I think I can't think of a single case when you dig into the past that that person hasn't overcome so many challenges to actually get there. Do you know what I mean? The amount of work, the amount of
Mm.
failures that they had to went through to get there. Even stars that look super young, and you think, oh man, it's that role, and they worked with a great director, and that was a box office hit, so that made them. And then you look into the past, they've been working
Yeah.
in on TV since they were three or something like that,
Right.
right? Or like they've had to change so many careers, but the acting is the one thing they always stuck with. It's like in their hearts, you know.
Mm.
The sheer amount of hard work. Um, but usually people are like, oh, they are so handsome or beautiful, and they just slept their way to the top, probably.
Right. It's like these
That's never
days, like that's not
yeah, that's
that doesn't
never
happen anymore.
no, no,
Yeah.
no.
I was just speaking with an actor, Matt Shively, who grew up doing a lot of sitcoms. Uh,
Yeah,
and he said something similar. He brought up the actor Noah Centineo, who a lot of people think like, rose to global. I mean, he rose to sort of global fame through a Netflix series of films called "To All the Boys I've Loved Before,"
right,
teen
right,
rom-coms.
right,
And but if you look at
right.
his IMDb page, he's got a dozen credits before that. He
Well,
did a
yeah,
series, he did other
yeah,
films, smaller
yeah,
parts, but they think like, no,
yeah,
this one thing blew up his career. It's like,
yeah,
or overnight success. It's like, well, no, like 10 years in the making to get that one thing that, launched them.
yeah,
But then, you know,
yeah.
I feel like that's the case a
It's a
lot.
struggle, man. Yeah, it's a struggle. Did no? Is Noah the guy in Black Adam? Is he?
Yes. Yeah,
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 he is. Right? Yeah, that's right. So much work, man, and you can tell,
yeah.
he's still putting in a lot of work too.
Mhm.
And also comes with that is the internal struggle, like your mental struggles. It's just it puts everything in this. It magnifies it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because of like the social pressures, because of everything. Look, when you're working in an office, if someone does a better job than you don't really know, because you don't ask people about their bonuses or their paycheck or
Right.
whatever, right? And that's changing now. So maybe that will be different. It'll be interesting to see where this like TikTok thing of like posting your salaries online, and like whether that will make people feel better or worse, because then you'll be like, wow, how come I thought I was doing okay, but now, and maybe you are doing okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you're happy, but as soon as you know that else is doing the same job as you, who's 10xing your pay, it's unfair. But still, when it affects yourself, is that it made you like much less happy. And with acting, is like every day in the news, you go like, I've been working just as hard, and this person's getting this, and everything is so overblown that it diminishes your own sense of accomplishment, you know?
And sort of thinking of the issues again, given the name of our show, you've been here before. You know what our show's about. But
Yeah, issues.
what comes to mind as like a career obstacle that you faced, or an issue that you could shed some light on for our audience of young artists?
I think the biggest obstacle is like always yourself. I think you're always
Mm,
your own worst enemy because uh you like because we're in the business of feelings,
mhm.
right? When you're acting, you're actually feeling. So to polish that into like a sharpened blade, it's so easy to cut yourself with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you're trying to be very sensitive, and when that happens, you have to make a choice between like you have to really define what is just business and not to chastise yourself too much.
Mhm.
I think that's always the number one obstacle. Um, the other things are like the bigger picture of how I saw things because I think you know that I'm Chinese Canadian
Mhm.
and I was born in China, and really the way that like the way that the media says like China wants this or Chinese has done this or something like that. It's always one, they personify a country and it's not clear what they're addressing. And because I belong to that culture, to that community, it hits me in a different way. And I know that there's things that affect public perception in a lot of different ways. And I think a lot of Chinese actors and everyone knows that. I mean, it's common knowledge within my community, but I still don't know how, whether the general public still believes this, is that during COVID, anti-Asian crime has gone up a lot. So I think that's just one part of that public perception. That's a big issue. So that's an obstacle that we're constantly overcoming. And not to complain that the obstacles are there, because overcoming them is a part of the struggle, is a part of the fight, is a part of the interest. It's like I said before, there is no everything comes from a struggle, right?
Mhm.
So that's what puts meaning in it. So it's an obstacle, but there's definitely no complaining about it. It's just what you do about it.
Yeah, I love that. Wow, that that really hit me. Because I feel like we hear all the time that that actors specifically, like, don't worry about the things that are not in your control, and of course that's much easier said than done, especially when it comes to acting, because you don't get, hang on, there's sirens going on right now. Welcome to New York.
No, that's okay, man. I'm in a similar neighborhood with sirens going on all the time. And it's not until you start taping something that you
Right.
know, because usually it's just it blends into the background noise. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like prejudice or racism. Usually when it's in the culture, it just blends into the general noise,
Yeah.
right? It's just day-to-day life. You're like, this is the status quo. And then something happens that sparks something.
Yeah.
And then you go, wow, that I've been living with that this whole time and I didn't even recognize it.
Yeah.
And it's that siren that prompts you to react, to take action.
Yeah. Great analogy. That was great. So given that you've done such like a wide variety of projects already, you've done like fantasy, sci-fi, action, superhero movies. What haven't you done yet that you really want to sink your teeth into? Do you want to do like more comedy since you've done a lot of dramas? Do you want to do more television? What's sort of on your bucket list?
Yeah, I would love to do a comedy. I love to do a comedy. I love to take time to do a play. I would love to do I would love to do a lot of things. Speaking of like opening a cafe, I'd love to start a cafe. I would just like love to experiment with things, right? But in terms of like the film industry, there's just a lot of things I want to do. And it's just limitless. And I hope I get to do more projects in Asia because before the pandemic, I was doing a lot of things over there. That was really interesting. It gives me a chance to, get to know different Asian cultures more deeply.
Mm,
Um, I would love to do more of these international projects and putting my hands into smaller films.
mm,
That's something I would be very interested in exploring and pursuing these next few years because, like personally, I've gotten just I watched Black Adam and then Black Panther back to back,
mm.
and sure, great movies, but it I'm getting a bit of fatigue, to be honest. It's like yeah, there's a limit.
Yeah.
So I love to do films that I take things away from. Like a very small film I did was called Son of the South, and it's a drama based on the civil rights movement,
Mm,
the Freedom Bus rides. It was filmed in Alabama, and that film gave me way, way more than sort of like any big budget film. It gave me an understanding of how society works here and how, even though it was focused on, the fight for Black Americans to have their civil rights, but it gave me an understanding of how the society worked in terms of Asian Americans, Latino Americans, all the underrepresented Americans, and how things are changing.
mm,
And also gave me a sense of empathy for the people that, I mean, to I mean, not to like, stir the pot, but it gave me an understanding of why things were the way they were. Like I understood the history of the KKK and
mm.
Jim Crow era and where all that came from. And it gave me a sense of um, understanding, if not empathy, for them, you
Mm,
know. It gave me an understanding of why that was wrong. And most importantly, I think those little films teach you because you're so intimate. You're in every nitty gritty piece of the thing, the working of the film, right? You understand it much more, the intention of the film, where it's coming from. So it sets it changes your life in a fundamental way. So for example, that film just left me with a sense that like we shouldn't be hypocrites. Like you hear a lot of people these days talking about like making fun of white people, like making fun of men, making fun of this and that. And I understand because it's a backlash from what's been done with them before. There's a lot of resentment and anger, and definitely that needs to be expressed somehow. But I
mm,
think it can be expressed in a positive way, because I think, I mean, doing the same thing as what's done unto you,
mm.
if it's a bad thing, then like you can't make a good argument how that's not hypocritical.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we all grew up hearing, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah,
So doing the same thing back to people is literally quite the opposite of that. You're just
yeah,
putting all of this,
yeah,
I'm very big into like the law of attraction and what you put out into the universe is what
yeah, yeah,
comes
yeah,
back. And,
yeah,
just make sure you put out the
yeah,
right thing. And yeah, I
yeah,
just left, I was just in Los Angeles for a diversity summit for the
yeah,
media community. And
yeah,
something that this one speaker brought up was instead of canceling, to
yeah,
provide counseling, because when you
yeah,
try and cancel someone, you're just stopping, you're not even allowing a conversation. You're just like, get rid of them. You're silencing
yeah,
someone instead of
yeah,
taking the time to talk with them and trying to,
yeah,
develop open up a dialogue instead of just sort of shutting them up and being like, what you're saying is wrong and you don't deserve to speak, rather than what you're saying is wrong. Here's why you need to understand and educate the
yeah.
person.
Yeah, that's it's the only way to go. I mean, I'm watching the your election, the midterm elections in the States, obviously from the front row seats over here up north in Canada,
Yeah.
like directly your neighbors, just watching this. And so I'm a bit removed, but I'm thinking like you can't cancel half the country. right?
Right. Exactly.
So that's not that you can't do that. That's not even viable option. And I thought democracy was about this is I feel like, people make a big deal. I might be wrong. So if you disagree, counsel me for this. Don't cancel me. Or do whatever you want. You can cancel me if you want. But I feel like 50-50 is kind of what people are looking for,
Yeah.
right?
Balance.
I thought that's what democracy was about. So, like, half the country thinks this way, half the country thinks another way. The only thing is that there's no, like you said, there's no counseling, there's no conversation going on. People are
Mhm.
just so staunch. Like this, I think that's the word. That's what the word radical means. They're so staunch in their stance.
Yeah.
But 50-50, it's a division, but it's what you want. It's like how our brain works, like 50 left brain, 50 right brain, right? It's like, language and, art and rationality. I know like that's not exact brain science, and I'm really just like bro science my way about this, but that's what I think, right? That's the balance you're seeking. The only thing is you need that middle area of the brain to start talking to each other. That's been cut off right now, and
Yeah.
one thing's going one way, the other thing's going the other way. Um, I keep I keep losing our train of thought on this. I don't know what we were talking about before. I think it got really serious all of a sudden,
It's
and
okay.
and this is why this is the question you asked me before. Like, would I love to explore more comedy? I would love to explore more comedy because things get so dramatic
Uh,
already.
yeah.
I would love to be put in an environment where they're like, you have to think about funny.
Yeah.
That's
Just
that's all
buffoonery.
you have to. That'd
Complete.
be awesome. That would be great.
Yeah. So before we go, we always end with a quick game called Now That We Know You, since we've gotten to chat with you for a while. So fill in the blank. If I
Okay.
weren't working in the arts, I'd be.
I'd be traveling.
What was the role you had the most fun playing?
Um, Power Rangers. Power Rangers. That was a lot of fun.
What role was the biggest like learning opportunity for you?
Also, Power Rangers. That was an eye opener.
That was like your first sort of like major film?
That was my first major studio film. Actually, it would be a tie between Power Rangers and Son of the South.
Okay.
Because like, man, being in Montgomery, Alabama, and seeing the Equal Justice Institute and all the memorials and the history there, that
Mhm.
was so eye-opening for
Yeah.
me to understand American history. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope
That's
that
the
one day
American
I
history
get
they're
to do
trying not to teach anymore, sadly.
the what?
That's all the American history they're trying not to teach anymore. I'm sure you've heard they're, rephrasing slavery to be like involuntary servitude or whatever. It's like they're just like trying to water it
All
down to make
right,
it
that's a
less
big.
severe.
I don't think that's ever going to work. Like,
Interesting.
I think the truth comes out eventually. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, but that was a game
Mm.
changer as well. I really hope that I do get to do a project about like ancient Chinese history or like just Asian in general
Mhm.
because it's so fascinating. Like, there's 6,000 years of history that
Yeah.
hasn't been dug up. That's been represented here in the West as what, like Mulan. That's what we get. But like,
Right.
that's like less than the tip of my iceberg. That's like
Yeah.
less than the dust on a sand dune. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I would love that. Anyway,
Yeah. There's so many movies about American history, and it's like we're what less than 300-400-year-old country, and there's like
yeah,
thousands of years elsewhere that no one's covering. It's very
yeah,
frustrating. I
yeah.
that
No,
ancient
no,
history
but
fascinates me.
great stuff has been made. Oh man, the English is so good.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a revisionist history, and I read up about it, and it's like fictional, inspired by all these really interesting sources, but the core is there.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, it's well done.
Mm. What is the best advice you've ever gotten?
Don't take the shit too seriously.
I love that. Every time someone
Yeah,
says that, I'm just like, yeah, it's relax, guys, take a breath. It's not that serious. It's not
right.
life or death. Let's stop treating it like every gig,
Yeah,
every audition is life or death. It's not.
yeah, yeah,
And if it is,
yeah,
you made some poor financial decisions to make this one job depend
yeah,
on,
yeah.
yeah,
I think at the end of it, even if you look at it objectively, even if you have to take it very seriously, even if the shit is serious,
Mhm.
you'll do a better job by tricking yourself into thinking it's not that serious. Because the whole thing about like relaxation and being not too in your head and just let your body flow with everything. And plus it brings up lots of interesting things when it's not that serious, you know?
And just being present,
So
because when you're
yeah.
in your head, you're just,
So yes.
yeah,
Again, humor, because you
yeah,
can't be, again, comedy. I think
mhm,
that's it. Out of this conversation, that's the thing I'm gonna take. That's my takeaway from this.
yeah.
Gotta do more comedy. Gotta
Someone
do
cast Ludi in a comedy, and everyone go watch the English. Those are the two biggest takeaways here.
biggest takeaways. Yes.
What is the worst advice that you've ever gotten?
What's the worst advice? Trust no one.
Mm, that's pretty, yeah. It's
Yeah,
funny.
that's pretty.
Someone said like the opposite in another
Yeah,
interview
that's
I just
pretty
did.
detrimental to your life. I mean,
Yeah,
people will give crazy advice in this industry. It's
yeah,
like, which might, which is kind of ironic because um, don't trust the person who tells you to trust no one. You can trust everyone but that person,
right. Yeah,
right?
yeah. And in 10 words or less, what advice would you give to a young actor?
um, I mean, I always say love the way you suck, and I think I said this to you last time as well. Love the way you suck,
Yeah,
um, but also fight the good fight.
yeah. Awesome. Well, Ludi, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. Social media, Instagram, where can our fans find you?
Yeah, just search Ludi Lin. I'm on there somewhere. Yeah.
Awesome. And folks, you know the drill. You can follow us on Instagram at Actors with Issues. Give me a follow at Juaniala Official and subscribe to our show on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts for new episodes every Monday and bonus episodes throughout the week. I'm Juaniala. This is Actors with Issues. That's Ludi Lin. We'll see you next week.
Peace.